Leah's journey is a whisper for your own heart. Maybe you have a song you haven't sung, a story waiting to be written, an untouched canvas. We all have a creative spirit inside us that wants to be heard. The fear of being judged is something everyone feels, but creativity is about being brave, not perfect. Every small creative act is a step towards the light. Find your own Mrs. Petrov, or be that support for someone else. Write your fears and then write your truth. Take a small step. Hum, write, draw, share. Your voice matters. The world needs your song. Today is a good day to start. Leah was sitting alone in her dimly lit room, sunlight barely peeking through the curtains. Dust rested on her quiet friends, a guitar, a keyboard, a violin, all unplayed, all waiting. They weren't just instruments, they were part of her soul, longing for her to play. The music inside her was restless. Tunes would pop up, but fear would push them down. She'd hum a little tune, her fingers would twitch a bit, but the chill of fear always crept in. The instruments became reminders, not of her talent, but of how stuck she felt. The silence was heavy, full of unplayed notes and dreams kept inside. Leah wondered if her instruments felt her longing, her doubts. Her room, once a place to create, now felt like a pretty prison. The instruments, her old friends, seemed to judge her with their silence. She knew a lively world of music was inside her, wanting to get out, but fear was like a guard at the gate, not letting it pass. So Leah just sat there, surrounded by her unplayed music, the music inside her like a bird in a cage. The silence felt tight, always reminding her of what she was so afraid to share. Leah's fear had roots, memories of hurtful words and small rejections. Mrs. Davison, her piano teacher when she was a little girl, once told her, "Being exact is everything. Without it, music is just noise." Her uncle's comment, said so casually, "Can you play something we all know?" made her doubt her choices. These comments stuck with her, making her doubt if her music was any good. But the toughest critic was inside her. "You're not good enough, why even try?" These voices tied a knot of worry, making it feel impossible to share her music. It was easier to keep her songs hidden than to risk people judging them. The wish to create burned inside her, but fear threatened to put it out. One night, the moon was making long shadows in Leah's room, and she had a dream. It felt super real and a little scary, and it stayed with her, kind of like how fog sticks around in the morning. In the dream, she was on a big, empty stage. It was a place where anything could happen, but it also made her feel like everyone was watching her. A single bright spotlight shone right on her, making her feel all alone. It seemed to show every little mistake, every time she wasn't sure. She could feel the eyes of an audience she couldn't see, like a heavy weight pushing down on her. Then, from the darkest part of the stage, where the light didn't reach, her own shadow appeared. It was like a weird reflection of all her biggest worries. This shadow was like all her fears rolled into one person. It was made of all the doubts that nibbled at her from the inside. This dark shape was everything she tried to keep hidden away. "Why even bother trying?" the shadow whispered. Its voice was creepy and sounded just like that mean little voice in her own head, the one that always put her down. "It's much safer to stay hidden," the shadow said, "where no one can see you or hear you. No one can say mean things about something they can't even hear." The shadow loved the quiet, loved it when no one was looking too closely or judging. The shadow pointed to the darkness all around. It looked like a giant empty space that could swallow everything up and make everyone forget. "Out there in the light," the shadow warned, "they're just waiting to pick you apart, to tear down everything you've worked for." Leah wanted to argue, to stand up for her music, the thing she loved so much. She wanted to say that music was meant to be shared, to bring people together, to help them feel better, and to spark new ideas. But the words wouldn't come out. They were stuck in her throat, caught by her fear and her feeling that she wasn't good enough. "Your music is too special, too fragile for their world," the shadow hissed. Its voice sounded mean and poisonous. The shadow was trying to trick her. Its words were soft and smooth like silk, but they were slowly wrapping around her, trapping her. "Protect your music," the shadow urged. "Protect yourself. Stay hidden away, where no one can ever find you." The shadow held out its hand. It was a dark invitation, but it seemed kind of tempting, inviting her to step deeper into the shadows. It promised her peace and safety, way down in the darkness. Leah suddenly woke up with a jolt. Her heart was pounding like a drum. The dream's message felt so real and a little bit creepy. The shadow's clever, tricky words were hard to forget. The shadow's advice to stay quiet, to keep her voice hidden, sounded just like her own biggest fears. It made those fears feel even bigger, almost too big to handle. The dream left her feeling heavy, like she was carrying a big weight from what the shadow had said. Now, the thought of sharing her music felt even scarier, like a terrible idea that could only lead to hurt. Her shadowy side had twisted her worries into what felt like facts. It turned her doubts into giant problems that seemed like they would never go away. The shadow made being alone sound like a good thing, like a way to stay safe, not like a prison. It made it seem like a cozy hiding spot from a tough world. But deep inside, Leah knew it wasn't a shield. It was more like chains. It was like a pretty cage she had built herself out of her own worries. The darkness from the dream stuck around, like a stubborn shadow clinging to her thoughts even after she woke up. But there was also a little question in her mind, a tiny spark of wanting to fight back against that growing darkness. Was being safe worth staying silent? Was a life hidden in the shadows really living at all? She lay awake in bed, her heart still thumping. She could feel the heaviness of the dream pressing on her chest, and she wondered if she could ever break free from the shadow's grip. Would she ever be brave enough to step out into the light? The shadow's words kept playing over and over in her mind, like a constant reminder of all her fears and worries. But a tiny voice deep inside whispered that she wanted something more. It was a quiet echo of her real self, the part of her that longed to be heard. Maybe, just maybe, if she could find the strength to face her fears, she could find a way out of the darkness and into the light. Maybe there was a path to becoming all the wonderful things she could be. One afternoon, as the sun made long shadows in the neighborhood, Leah found herself looking out the window. She saw her neighbor, Mrs. Petrov, taking gentle care of her garden. The bright flowers seemed to shine with the old woman's kindness. Mrs. Petrov was known for being wise and kind. She moved slowly and nicely among her flowers. When Mrs. Petrov saw Leah at the window, she stopped her gardening for a moment and kindly waved for Leah to come over. Mrs. Petrov saw Leah was sad, like she was carrying something heavy all by herself. So she offered to sit with her and make her feel better. Under the shade of an old oak tree, she listened very patiently as Leah told her about her music that she kept hidden, all the songs stuck inside her, and about the awful fear that kept her feeling trapped. "Fear is a very smart thief, dear," Mrs. Petrov said. Her voice was soft but strong. "It tries to steal our song, the special thing about us, before we can even show it to anyone." With a little smile, like she knew a secret, she looked in her garden basket and gave Leah a plain, simple notebook. "This," she said, "is a fear journal. When fear whispers worries in your ear, write down just what it says, every dark thought, every idea that tries to stop you. Then, on the very next page, write what your heart really wants to say, the dreams it has, the music it wants to make. Don't argue with your fear, don't make it bigger than it is. Just give it one page, a little spot for it to be, and then right after, let your own truth breathe. Let your heart sing its own song." Leah held the notebook close to her chest. She could feel the plain paper and the cover. Inside her, a little light of hope started to glow, like a tiny spark in the dark. Mrs. Petrov smiled, and her eyes crinkled up in a kind and cheering way. "Don't let fear write your whole story, dear. Your music, your special voice, they deserve their own parts of the story, their own way to shine." In Leah's hands, the notebook felt like a key. It was a simple thing, but it felt like it could open something really important. It was a small step, a try to get closer to the freedom she really wanted. Holding the notebook tight, Leah walked back home. The kind old woman's wise words softly echoed in her mind, like gentle whispers on the wind. Maybe, just maybe, with this simple notebook, she could start to open up the creativity jail she had built around herself piece by piece. The advice seemed so simple, like a little soft push instead of a big shove, but it touched her deep inside, making waves of hope spread out. In the quiet of her room, Leah felt a tiny, delicate spark, like a little hot coal, start to glow inside her, fighting against the darkness of her fear. Maybe this was her way forward, a path lit up by the wise words of her kind neighbor. The first step didn't have to be big or brave. It didn't need to be perfect, just brave enough to begin. Back in her room, which was like her safe place, Leah opened the fear journal. It was a plain notebook, but it held the weight of all her worries, a place to face her deepest fears. With a shaky hand, she wrote, "I'm afraid they'll laugh." The words felt heavy on the page, like real proof of her fear of being judged. She filled a whole page with her fears. Lots of worries poured out from her head onto the paper. Each sentence was like telling a secret, showing her true self. Old criticisms, memories of bad things from the past that still hurt her, her doubts inside, those mean voices that told her bad things and took away her confidence. Writing them down didn't erase them. The fears were still there, stuck to the page, stubborn. But this way she gave them a place outside her head, a spot to keep the worries that spun around inside her. On the next page, a blank page, a place for something new, she wrote, feeling like she now had a reason. I want to play. I want to share a little piece of my soul. It was like a promise, a huge wish to express herself with music. She recorded, catching a little moment of inspiration, one of those that slip away, a 10-second melody, a tiny little piece of her musical world on her phone, just a hum, a simple way to show something deeper. Listening to it again, with a mix of excitement and a bit of nervousness, she cringed a little at the things that weren't perfect, at how delicate what she had made was, but she also heard something pretty and delicate, a little spark of something real among all the doubt. Encouraged by that little light of hope, she posted the clip, taking a leap of faith without saying who she was, to protect herself from any mean comments on a music forum, a group of people with the same tastes, a place to share and connect. Hours later, just one comment appeared, a sign that someone had listened, that her voice had been heard. What a pretty short melody, I hope to hear more. A simple message, but full of encouragement. That little bit of encouragement was like a lifeline, like a light of hope in the darkness of her doubts. Leah started to try things, exploring different sounds and styles, short phrases on the keyboard, figuring out what she could do with melody and chords, guitar riffs, finding her voice through the strings. Each time, with every try, she wrote down her fears, recognizing the worries that held her back, and then her wishes, trading fear for hope and doubts for the desire to achieve things. Sharing her stuff was terrifying. It was a constant fight against that critical little voice inside her, but each time she did it, she got stronger, with more desire to keep creating. Some clips got no response, as if they just disappeared into the internet. Others, a few kind words, a small but important way to feel valued. She learned that messing up wasn't the end of the world, that little problems were just chances to learn and get better, and that if people didn't care, that was okay too, that her worth didn't depend on what others said. Little by little, slowly, she started to separate her own worth from what others thought, finding value inside herself. Her music, her passion, and her bravery, her inner strength grew little by little, step by step. The silence in her room started to fade, and her own music played instead. Leah was bringing her music, her voice, and herself, her true self, into the light, accepting everything she could become. Each small step was like a quiet little fight against fear, proof that she was getting stronger and tougher. Months went by. Leah's fear journal filled up, and her online presence grew. Then, an email. The Wandering Muse Cafe asked her to play because a friend had secretly signed her up. The chance was exciting and scary. Anxiety washed over her. Her dark side roared, "A live audience? You'll freeze. You're going to fail." She filled pages with her worst fears. What if I forget the words? What if they don't like my music at all? She really wanted to cancel everything. But then she remembered how Mrs. Petrov cheered her on, the nice things strangers had said, and her instruments that she had played so much. This wasn't just about music. It was about choosing to be brave instead of just staying comfy. She took a shaky breath. Leah closed the email she was writing to cancel. She made up her mind. She would play, even if she was scared. She was still scared, but she was going to go on that stage no matter what. Every time she practiced, it was like a fight, but it was also a step in the right direction. She wasn't trying to be perfect. She just wanted to be in the moment. The show was getting closer, but so was her big chance. Leah decided to believe in herself, and in her music. Just making that choice was like winning already. The night of the show came. The cafe was full of people, waiting and excited. Backstage, Leah's hands were shaking as she held her guitar. Her dark self whispered, "Run." But then she remembered Mrs. Petrov. "Your music deserves its own chapters." When they called her name, Leah walked onto the stage. The lights were so bright and the crowd was a blur. For a second, fear almost froze her. She closed her eyes, pictured her fear journal, and remembered why she played. Her fingers found the first chord, shaky but real. As the melody began, the music started to flow, washing the fear away. She played for the music, for herself, not to be perfect. The faces in the crowd softened. No one was judging, they were just listening quietly. The terror faded, and calm came, and then joy. She felt connected to her instrument, to her music, and to everyone listening. When the last note faded, applause washed over her, warm and real. Leah felt lighter than she had in years. The fear wasn't gone, but it didn't control her anymore. She had faced it, and she had played her song. In that moment, she was free. Off the stage, Leah felt changed. Not just relieved, but stronger. The applause was wonderful, but the real win was inside her. She had faced her fear and found possibilities, not an empty space. Her music had uncovered a hidden part of herself. By sharing her song, she had lit a candle in her own dark forest. The forest of fear was still there, but now she carried her own light. Her courage could inspire others to find their own. Her music was now part of a constellation of brave voices. The joy was in connecting, in expressing herself, and in the courage to be seen. Leah was not trapped anymore. She was a traveler, with her small lantern in hand, ready for the path ahead of her. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring content. Join our community, and let's keep encouraging each other to unlock our hidden talents and face our fears together. Hit that subscribe button and let the music play on.